right, if everybody can take their seat for a second. So welcome. Welcome to the 20th Annual Public Safety and Community Appreciation Luncheon. I'm going to say that again. It's the 20th Annual Community Appreciation Luncheon. So for 20 years, this event has served to honor local law enforcement, public safety members for the sacrifices that they and their families have made to protect the citizens that they serve. But we've also recognized that it takes a community to ensure that we have a healthy and a safe place for us to raise our families. We also recognize that there are individual citizens and representatives from all sectors of our society, all parts of our community that work together to keep our neighborhoods safe. This event is an opportunity for all of us to come together to talk about the challenges that we face, the emerging issues, and how we can work together as a community to move us forward. On our, oh, well, that's me. On our overhead here, you will see that we will recognize our dignitaries that have come. Today we have leaders and representatives from pretty much every segment in our community. We have members of public safety and police associations. We have legislators and public officials. We have educators and school administrators, healthcare, legal, business professionals. We have community-based advocates. We have public service agencies and representatives. And we have the faith-based community. I'm gonna recognize everybody on the PowerPoint here, but there's one person, I hope she's here. Thank God she sat down. And that is the person that started this public safety luncheon. I find it fitting that this is the 20th anniversary, and that is Jan Scully. So. Woo! I think it's almost ironic that this is the 20th anniversary and she was our DA for 20 years. And she hasn't left her service behind because she's leading one of the greatest organizations that we've created here, which is the Family Justice Center. So thank you for that, Jan. So before we start, I want to just recognize we can't do this luncheon every year without our sponsors. And if I can ask you to just hold your applause till the end. We have different levels, obviously, and so I want to recognize what we call our premier sponsors first. So one of the, a new sponsor that we have is National University. So where are they at? 5. All right, table 5. Thank you for being here. I want to just recognize them because, first of all, it's the first time they've been here, but they wanted a little advertisement, which is this year they're offering 25% scholarships to all public safety personnel, civilian and sworn and non-sworn, to come in and get an education if they wish to do so. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a sponsor for us. Hopefully I said that right. Also, and again, I'm going to read these off, so if you can just save your applause. Sacramento Police Officer Association has been here since 2001. Our champion sponsors, Kaiser has been with us for 10 years. Sacramento Credit Union returns for the 8th straight year. The California Alcohol Beverage Control Target Responsibility for Alcohol-Connected Emergencies, which is their TRACE unit, has been here for now 7 years. And the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department has been a co-chair of this event since its inception and an anchor sponsor for many years, so thank you for your continued support. If we can give them all a round of applause. And our sponsors, we have many other sponsors. They're in the PowerPoint, and they're also on the back of your program. So let's start. I'd like to now introduce and start with our Mutual Color Guard, which is comprised of members of local law enforcement and public safety agencies. Let's begin with the presentation of colors. If you could all just please stand.
Detail, attend, port, halt. Forward. Ha. Detail. Halt. Pose. 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 Present arms.
If I can invite John Angelo Coleman up to do the pledge. John Angelo is a graduate of our Youth Academy program, and he's a student at Rex Margaret Fortune Early College High School to do our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
And now I'd like to invite one of my close friends and the co-founder of City of Refuge, Rochelle Dittmore, to do the pledge of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light was so brightly hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly beaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Forward. Halt. Ready. Place.
At this point, I'd like to invite up Chaplain Mindy Russell, who will lead us in a moment of silence and invocation. I think anybody that knows Mindy knows she's the Executive Director of the Law Enforcement Chaplaincy here in Sacramento, where she serves as a senior chaplain for federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies in our region.
Well, good morning. So one thing that the chaplains get to do is go to hospitals for visits. So we overheard this little old man in a bed. And when I say old, he's 150 years old, okay? And he's in bed and he says to his wife, Ethel, you've always been with me. She goes, yes, Fred, I have. He says, Ethel, do you remember when our house burned down? You were with me. She says, yes, Fred, I remember. He says, Ethel, you remember when we lost our business? You were with me. She goes, yes, Fred, I remember. He says, Ethel, you're bad luck. I always thank Anne-Marie for allowing us to have this beautiful luncheon. It usually is at the end of all of our memorials, local, and getting ready for the state. But this year, we're doing a little different. And so we've already recognized the Rose Garden for our own deputy that we lost in September of 17th last year. And then the Police and Sheriff Memorial, which was beautiful yesterday. But we're going to go into a lot of the different memorials next week, and we will remember. So as we are doing a tribute to our fallen, we're also here as a community with public safety to remember what they do for us. Now, I know that our public servants, and that includes all first responders, have been under the microscope lately. And I believe that our society would not be where we are today if we did not have these brave men and women. Maybe now you see them, you don't see just a man and woman in a uniform with an oath that they took to protect you, but they will see that you will see them as those who will go in harm's way just for you and me. Being an officer is much more than writing traffic tickets or breaking up a house party or even responding to a fender bender. You see, a police officer is much more than what meets the eye. And people in society simply create their image of what something or someone is based on their own personal experience. And sometimes we get that experience from watching media and Hollywood. Most people, when they read about a fatal car accident or a horrible tragedy, will feel sympathy and empathy for the victims. But may I also encourage you to don't forget the first responders, what they experience and how they're affected too. I firm believe that this is not a job. It is a calling. Because a police officer and a firefighter and public safety is recognizing and seeing the worst side of humanity that we will never see. And so we accept the fact that they see that as normal. That is their job. But it takes a kind of person, a special person, to do this job, one that really isn't normal. How can I be so confident about this calling that these men and women in law enforcement and fire have? It's because as one of your many chaplains here in Sacramento, we get to serve alongside of them to our beautiful community, and we have the privilege of seeing them at their worst and being there for them as well. I quote from Chief Ron Hall, who says, having a chaplain in your department can be incredible value. Thank you for all of the departments in here that allow us to be a part of your department. And to the hundreds and thousands of brothers and sisters in blue, red, and green around the world who put their lives and their normal on the line every day, we thank you. So if you are law enforcement, whether you're uniformed today or you're in a suit, and I know who you are, would you please stand up so we can give you an applaud that you so deserve? Public, join us in an applaud. Before I go into a moment of silence, you have been seeing on the screen the 6 officers that we have been recognizing this year It started at the Gun and Hoses game when Captain Jim Barnes had the families come out and had the football players present them with a signed football. It was overwhelming. And so we have a table of wonderful families that we want to introduce to you. Mr. and Mrs. Corona and their daughter, Jackie. And the Davis Police Department Chief Darren Pytel. And our firefighter that lost his life after a horrible battle, a strong battle though, that was Trent Lindholt. We're going to introduce Laura Hammond, Emma Lindholt, and Kristen Hindle. Bless you all. And I'm going to introduce to you Battalion Chief Rob Zacha. And so if you allow me at this time, I'm going to lead you in a word of prayer. And just to remind you, this is just what you see on a day like this, but let me tell you the truth. I guess I have to because I'm a chaplain, right? I tell you the truth, that your chaplains pray for you, your department, your family, every day. And we pray, Anne-Marie, for this community every day. God help us all. Would you bow your heads? Heavenly Father, we speak back to you your word of truth from Psalm 71. I run to you, Lord, for protection. Don't disappoint me. You do what is right, so come to my rescue. Listen to my prayer, Lord, and keep me safe. Today, Father, we specifically pray for our first responders and our community. We pray for their safety. We pray peace. We pray for their wisdom. We pray for their families. And we pray for the fallen officers' families as well. And for all those that the fire department respond to keep safe, and for all those that the law enforcement go to protect. Lord, we are thankful for their sacrifice. We are thankful that you have blessed each one of these departments, each one of these individuals. And we also pray for our community. And in times of tragedy, that you and you alone, God, will heal the brokenhearted in our nation, our communities, and you will bind up their wounds. In this we pray. Amen. Are you going to talk about the blue ribbon? Okay, and Anne-Marie's going to talk about the blue ribbon. Wink, wink. All right.
Okay, before we go on, I do want to mention the blue ribbons at your table. So you're going to have a little bag of goodies to take home with you, and one of them is a blue ribbon. So that is a symbol of the law enforcement chaplaincy, and obviously we know they provide critical support not just to law enforcement but to our community when we have violence unfortunately unfold in our community. So I would ask that you consider buying one of those blue ribbons. It is without a doubt one of the main ways that they continue to support their organization. So I'd ask you to consider that, and the proceeds will go directly to them. So with that, we are actually, I think, on time. So we're going to take a break right now and have lunch, and then we'll start our program in about 20 or 25 minutes. So thank you. Also, during this time, if you have time, visit some of the tables around here and see all the good work that's being done. So thank you.
So, there's a lady named Ethel. No, I'm sorry. We've already told you that one. All right, so it appears that some of you did not get the blue ribbon in your bag because we want you to donate for the blue ribbons. It used to be we had the blue ribbons that you tied on an antenna on your car. Do you all remember back those days? We had that long antenna. So we have to now change it, and we have this blue ribbon that you put it on, and you wear it all the month of May to show your support for law enforcement, because this is the month for law enforcement. So we'll have these bags back there, and our chaplains are going to be holding it. Just drop some, 10s, 20s, 100s in there, and we'll give you as many ribbons as you want. All right, God bless you.
Okay, I know some of you are still eating, so please continue to do so. But right now, what I want to do is, before we get into our theme of today, is every year we do a Rotary Service Above Self Award. That's always a secret to us. So I'm going to invite up the President, Diane Woodruff, to present the Service Above Self Award.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to be here today representing the Rotary Club of Sacramento. Before I present this year's Service Above Self Award, I wanted to just take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you in this room who works in public safety and law enforcement. You know, all of us community members, members of the general public who are here today, want to thank you for being the heroes that you are. We all know that you are the people that we can turn to when we are in danger, when we are afraid, or when we need help. And we also know that you will always answer the call, even sometimes when you put yourselves in peril. So I want to just thank you for being willing to put your lives on the line every single day to protect us. And I also know that you never get thanked and acknowledged enough. So that's why I wanted to start my remarks today by saying thank you for your dedication and for your service. Turning now to the award that I want to present today, the motto of Rotary is service above self. And every year, it is our great joy to present a Service Above Self award and a $1,000 check to a deserving member of the law enforcement community, to a person who goes above and beyond the call of duty to help and serve others, and who exemplifies the motto of service above self. Now, I know so many of you in the audience are deserving of this award, and we had a difficult time making our final decision because we had so many outstanding people nominated this year, and I wish I could honor all of them who were nominated. I would like to thank Captain Lisa Heinz, who is a brand new member of our Rotary Club of Sacramento, because she helped organize and advertise the award this year. So today, we have two people, not one, but two people we would like to honor, Officer Patrick Cox and Officer Mark Redledge. These two men are members of the Sacramento Police Department's SWAT team. And 1 year ago, when they were working backfill on patrol, they met a homeless mother and daughter and decided that they wanted to help them because they were in a very dangerous situation. So the first thing they did was to find a place for them to live so that the mother and daughter would no longer be homeless. For the first few nights, they found them first a place to stay in a hotel, and then later in a shelter, and then later they even helped them get their own apartment, which meant that then they could get public assistance because they had an actual address, which is required to get public assistance. But then what happened is that the new apartment that they found for them had no furniture. So the next thing that these two officers did was to contact IKEA and to get them to donate $5,000 worth of furniture for the family's new apartment. A representative from IKEA, David Barassa, is here today, and I'd like to publicly thank and acknowledge you, David, for your generosity and for helping these two officers. Then what these two officers did was they continued to keep in touch with the mother and the daughter to see how they were doing. They checked in on them. And when they learned that the daughter was graduating from the 7th grade, they decided to support her and her education by attending her graduation. But the daughter didn't have anything to wear for the graduation, so they even took the daughter shopping to get her a dress so she'd have something appropriate to wear. The next thing they did when the mother had trouble finding a job because she had several teeth missing, they noticed that every time she talked, she covered her mouth like this because she was too ashamed and embarrassed about her appearance. What did the officers do? They contacted a dentist who agreed to provide a total mouth restoration for the mother and braces for the daughter worth over $20,000, all free of charge for the family. So what impressed me and our committee about these two officers and why we wanted to give them the award was because of the depth and the variety of services that they provided over a long period of time to help this family. What they did went way above and beyond the call of duty and demonstrated service above self and a real commitment to wanting to make a difference in this family's life. What they have done has the potential to change the course of this family's life from one of homelessness to one of hope. In addition, these two officers provided a positive male role model for the mother and the daughter, which they had never had before. They showed them that men and police officers not only have great physical strength and offer protection, but they also showed them that men and officers are also caring, compassionate, generous, and kind. For all these reasons, I would like to ask Officer Patrick Cox to come up to the stage to receive this year's Service Above Self Award and a $1,000 check. Let's give him a round of applause. Officer Cox will also be receiving the award today for Officer Mark Redlich, who could not be with us today. He was injured on the job and by a canine dog that bit him and did a lot of damage to his leg. So, Officer Cox, what I would like to do is to thank you for making a difference in this community and in this world, for personifying our motto of service above self, and for being our hero.
Wow. This is why I love this ceremony every year. So I want to talk a little bit for a minute about how we came to this year's theme in our panel discussion, which is centered around this concept of heroes in humanity. The inspiration for this year's theme came out of a tragedy that was suffered by one of my best friends and colleagues, Ruann Dozier, who's here today. That she experienced last fall. And with Ru's permission, many of you know her, with her permission, she gave me the ability to talk about that today. On Sunday, October 28th, about 8 o'clock in the morning, I got a phone call from Ruann simply stating, quote, "Brad is missing." Brad was her husband of 26 years. He was an expert hiker who had gone hiking the day before. Within a matter of minutes, we realized that a search needed to ensue. And within a matter of a few hours, countless people from all walks of life came together for one purpose: to help another human being. Volunteers, law enforcement, search and rescue personnel from across this state, as far away as San Diego, came together and began not just a week-long, but a historic search for her husband, Brad. On Saturday, November 3rd, after a week-long search, nearly 150 people came together to find him. Unfortunately, and very tragically, the outcome was not what we all desperately wanted, but God brought him home to his family so he could be laid to rest. But in that week-long search, and in those moments of tragedy, we also witnessed what I described to many as the greatest showing of human kindness we had ever seen. Each and every person that came together, law enforcement, volunteers, search and rescue, who probably 99% of which never met him nor his family, each of those individuals, in my mind, became heroes in humanity. And so when we sat down to talk about this year's theme, it dawned on me that every minute of every day, we have that very thing here in this community, heroes in humanity. So today, I like to recognize and celebrate our everyday citizens and professionals from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, who contribute to that humanity through passion, compassion, courage, and kindness, whether big or small, to simply make our community healthier, happier, safer, and kinder. So before we start our panel discussion, we put together a small sample of some of our local heroes, just to start us off.
What is a hero? Many would define a hero as a person who is idolized for their courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities.
There were lots of heroes that came out of the most devastating fire in California's history. The Camp Fire. Firefighters worked tirelessly to save lives and property, as well as to save animals in the fire's path. Law enforcement agencies from across the state helped in the fight and to keep the fire area safe, while the law enforcement chaplaincy of Sacramento offered support and prayers.
Heroes can come in the form of everyday citizens who put their own safety at risk and go above and beyond to help others. Jeff Garrett heard a crash. He went outside to see what happened and saw that a vehicle was on fire. While on the phone with 911, he took action to help all 3 occupants escape the burning vehicle. Tow truck driver Christian Melendrez was driving on I-5 and saw a CHP officer struggling with a suspect on the side of the highway. He pulled onto the shoulder to help the officer, who had been stabbed in the back, and helped cuff and gain control of the suspect. Dina Lewis is a respiratory therapist at Kaiser Permanente. After work, she went to her gym where a man suffered a medical emergency. Dina jumped into action. She unpacked the defibrillator machine and used her training to render immediate aid. Victims and witnesses are honored each year for demonstrating extraordinary courage and perseverance to participate in the criminal justice process and to help protect and prevent victims of crime.
We have unsung heroes in our classrooms who inspire and lift our kids up every day. Carlos Garcia is a science teacher at Florin High School. He also coordinates the Florin High School Law Academy, where he is helping to change the attitude and perception about the legal system among students and the neighborhood. Our Teachers of the Year also demonstrate heroes in the classroom from across the county who go above and beyond for their students.
There are many men and women in law enforcement who exemplify great courage, commitment, and compassion while on the job. Sheriff deputies saw an elderly disabled veteran who was having difficulty walking. He had fallen and needed help making it back home. The deputies pushed the veteran a quarter-mile back to his home. Citrus Heights police officers Page and Bridges arrived at a solo vehicle collision. Both officers pulled the unconscious driver to safety from the burning vehicle. Sacramento police responded to a report of a young man planning to jump off a bridge and commit suicide. When the man stepped onto the railing, the officers grabbed him off the railing to safety. A CHP officer had just completed a traffic stop when an SUV stopped behind him with a woman inside who was about to give birth. the officer helped deliver a healthy baby into the world. Sacramento law enforcement chaplains support families and agencies of fallen officers and community members when we experience trauma and grief from the loss of family members, colleagues, and friends to violence.
Then there are those in law enforcement who go above and beyond their job duties.
Jalen was in a car crash that left a metal bar impaled in his chest. Officer Skelton rendered medical aid to Jalen at the scene and stayed with Jalen and his parents at the hospital until he was out of surgery. When Jalen went home, Officer Skelton visited Jalen and his family, which was the start of a great friendship.
Miles was 7 years old and fighting brain cancer. The Citrus Heights Police Department led the charge to fulfill his Make-A-Wish, which was to be a police officer for a day. More than 50 officers from allied agencies joined a caravan of law enforcement vehicles that drove down Miles Street with lights flashing and sirens wailing. Miles was not expected to survive through the holidays, so officers brought him an early Christmas.
8-year-old Caden and his mother were hit head-on by a drunk driver. His mother was killed, and Caden suffered life-threatening injuries. Caden spent Christmas at the hospital recovering, so CHP officer Colby led the effort to bring a late Christmas for Caden.
Citrus Heights police officer Oldwin and his partners delivered toys to 6-year-old Mason, who had advanced stage cancer, and arranged for the River Cats mascot to visit Mason in the hospital. The two have stayed in touch and got together on Halloween.
During a collision investigation, Elk Grove police officers learned a teen lost his only mode of transportation to and from school. Officers pulled together and got him a brand new bike and helmet.
Sacramento County Sheriff's Deputy Catherine Backerich makes handbags for children at receiving homes so they don't have to carry their belongings in trash bags. She also crochets beanies for hospital cancer patients.
Law enforcement often engages with youth to build trust and relationships early, like Elk Grove police officers who played basketball with teens, or Rancho Cordova officers who joined kids in a game of basketball and baseball, or who went paddle boating with kids, like Rancho Cordova Police Chief Chris Pittman, or Sacramento firefighters playing ball and giving kids an up-close look at what they do.
Our community-based organizations have countless heroes who are passionate about helping others.
The Neighborhood Wellness Foundation Sister to Sister program helps at-risk young ladies from Grant High School heal from trauma and prepare them with the education and skills they need to be successful in life.
The Brother to Brother program holds an annual children's bike giveaway, providing more than 100 new bikes and helmets to youth.
The Reimagine Mack Road Foundation provides free bikes in exchange for community service.
The Sacramento Regional Family Justice Center hosts Camp Hope for children exposed to domestic violence. During camp, these kids are just free to be kids, enjoying swimming, ziplining, hiking, and campfires.
La Familia Counseling Center partners with healthcare programs like HealthNet, Access Dental, and Vision to Learn for their annual health and safety fair.
Always Knocking, Black Child Legacy, Build Black, Kaiser Permanente, and law enforcement partnered with the Sacramento Kings to create the Kings and Queens Rise Co-Ed Basketball League for youth.
At City of Refuge, the Grid Academy uses fitness, boxing skill training, and interactive instructional time to give young men the courage, character, and ability to endure life's challenges.
Their Shine program provides girls with the knowledge and skills to discover who they are and that they are valuable and unique individuals.
Always Knocking's Greg King and Kicking It for a Cause came together to donate more than 1,000 shoes to the community.
Chicks in Crisis holds pop-up events that provides free clothing, diapers, and snacks for babies.
Assemblyman Jim Cooper, along with La Familia Counseling Center, South County Services Galt, and Asian Resources, delivered 200 turkeys to families in need for the holidays. Through a MOU with the District Attorney's Office, cities of Sacramento and Rancho Cordova, Motel 6 agreed to invest $750,000 in local nonprofit organizations serving victims of domestic violence, human trafficking, and youth intervention programs.
Getting youth involved in the community today will create heroes of the future. Black Child Legacies campaign program Student Voices engages youth in key community issues. Volunteers like Public Defender Steve Garrett and people like Paris Dye bolster their involvement in social youth justice to bring about positive outcomes. Cadets of the Law Enforcement Explorers program learn about policing within the community and life-building skills. High school students learn about the criminal justice field and career opportunities within the justice system by participating in one of the 4 district attorneys' youth academies: the Criminal Justice Youth Shadow Day and the Crime Lab Youth Shadow Day. These DA youth programs are in partnership with law enforcement agencies, the probation department, the court and public defender's office, and includes their participation in student career fairs held at the end of these programs.
Not everybody can save a life or protect someone, but everyone can get involved. Join a Martin Luther King Jr. celebration and community march to honor his legacy and promote peace. Participate in a run walk, whether it's My Sister's House Run for a Safe Haven, Weaves Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, the annual Walk for Literacy, or support local firefighters and Fill the Boot for Burn. Contribute to the Make-A-Wish Foundation and make dreams come true for children like 5-year-old London, who became a Ghostbuster for a day. Support a friend and colleague. When Keith Hill, an avid Spartan race competitor, was diagnosed with brain cancer, more than 70 DA staff created Team Keith and participated in a Spartan race to show he is not alone in his battle.
These are just some examples of how organizations and individuals are serving as heroes of humanity. As a well-known quote says, there's a superhero in all of us. It just takes courage to put the cape on. So get out, help out, take advantage of the opportunity you have to be a hero for humanity.
Pretty impressive. I'm sure that we could probably put so many people in this room and in our community in there, but we'd probably be here for a very long time. So at this point, I'd like to do is invite our panel members up so we can start our panel discussion and talk about some important issues. So we have Mervin Brookins, co-founder of Brother to Brother. Executive Director of La Familia is Rachel Rios. Pastor Anthony Sadler from Shiloh Baptist Church, and Chief Bryan Noblett from Elk Grove Police Department. So thank you all. Yes, oh, I gotta take this, sorry. I get the benefit of being the moderator. You all right there? Okay, so softball questions. First one is pretty simple. We'll start with Chief Noblett. If you can just introduce yourself, tell us about yourself and your organization. You have less than 30 seconds to answer. No, I'm just kidding.
That is a pretty softball. That's not on. Can you hear me now? Okay, so I failed the first test to turn on the microphone. Good afternoon. My name's Bryan Noblett. It's my absolute honor to serve as the Elk Grove Chief of Police. And that's well within the 30-second timeline, so I'll stop there.
Well, that's a disadvantage. I'm a Baptist pastor. It takes
you can have more than 30. You get 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you, Emery. Thank you, appreciate that. Again, my name is Anthony Sadler. I have the privilege of pastoring the historic Shiloh Baptist Church, but I'm here actually in the capacity as the lead pastor for the Sacramento Police Department Cops and Clergy program.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Rios. I'm the Executive Director of La Familia Counseling Center, a nonprofit here in Sacramento celebrating 45 years.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mervin Brookins. I'm co-founder of Brother to Brother, a nonprofit organization in Del Paso Heights.
So obviously we all know that this year's theme is Heroes and Humanity. So I'll start with you, Mervin. Maybe you can tell, what's up? You get a little stressed out there.
Just a little bit.
Okay, so maybe tell us a little bit about your organization, what you do, and how would you describe somebody that you consider a hero within your organization?
Okay. That's a little difficult after watching that video. I don't know, that's a challenging question because it speaks directly to a narrative that we're trying to change in our community, a narrative we're trying to change and sustain. Brother to Brother, we really don't view the things that we do in our community as heroic or exceptional or extraordinary. More so like it's just our responsibility as men, our role as men in the community. It's unfortunate that the expectations and the bar has been lowered so much that things in other communities that are just the norm and ordinary, you know, out in Del Paso Heights, people consider extraordinary or amazing. So brother to brother, we're just out there trying to do what we can for our community, raise that bar so that that narrative changes. It's like we have to get back to normal so that we can then become exceptional like some of the men and women we saw in that video.
Okay, you're not really answering the question. So I'm going to do it for Mervin because I consider, so are you okay if I tell a little personal story?
Sure.
So I didn't know Mervin until about maybe a year or so ago, maybe. I'd heard about this guy. Brother to Brother is an organization that helps people in his community. But Mervin, for a long period of time, was incarcerated. I didn't even know this till probably 6 months ago. And he has, I consider him to be of the highest quality character of probably anybody I've met. And I'm quite confident that folks like Chief Hahn and Rochelle Dittmore and other people that know the work they're doing agree with me. And what he does is he doesn't just partner with one group or another group. I mean, just this week he was at our DA Citizens Academy talking about the relationships he's built with the DAs, the public defenders, all different folks. And then the following day he was out at Mule Creek State Prison talking to inmates about the importance of victims' rights and things of that nature. So I don't have any doubt, and you can see it in the video, that Mervin Brookins is a hero in humanity. So he won't say it, but it's true. And everybody on the stage is as well. So I'm going to now...
Thank you.
All right, we got it. Rachel Rios also.
So hero is a tough word, and I do understand, you know, why that's difficult. But I would say the heroes in our organization are our staff. You know, I would say the heroes are our community who, through resilience, you know, overcome obstacles that I don't know that I could. And our partners. Everything we do is about partnering with organizations, working together. And so I would say it starts really with compassion. And it starts with people who care, who, as you said, it's your responsibility to help others to pave that way that has been paved for you to give back to the community. And I see that in the staff and their commitment to their community every day. And so those are my heroes.
Can you tell the folks, you know, I know what you guys do, but tell them a little bit about what La Familia does on a daily basis.
Absolutely. So our name, La Familia Counseling Center, would lead you to believe that we provide behavioral health services, and we do. We do children's behavioral health for children 0 to 21 who are Medi-Cal eligible. That's just one part of what we do. We run a family resource center. We're one of the 9 family resource centers here in Sacramento. We run a robust Birth and Beyond program, which is parenting, effective parenting, crisis intervention, domestic violence, school readiness. It's just a home visitation. We also we have a career center, so we do job placement, subsidized employment, paid internships for young people, as well as job placement and job training. We have youth programs where we work with leadership as well as youth that have started having challenges, including working with SAC PD on truancy sweeps, curfew sweeps, and working with probation, youth, and reentry. And then we do health programs. So we do, I think as was there, we do health clinics and health education, Medi-Cal enrollment. So we really provide a gamut of services, and then we do that with partners. We bring other partners into our organization, to our 2 facilities. We have 2 sites, and we bring partners there, like Fairy Tale Towns, Adventure Play Area, 916 Inc., Adult Basic Ed, and ESL classes. Things that we don't do that we know the community needs, we'll bring other partners so that we can have a one-stop facility for them.
Awesome, thank you. All right, you get more than 30 seconds, but you got to tell us a little bit about your church as well.
Okay. Heroes, I grew up before DVRs and even video recorders, so Heroes as a child was the comic books that we would exchange, Marvel or DC comic books, and we would pick our favorite superhero. As I've gotten older and matured, I found out that heroes are actually everyday people that will take advantage of an opportunity to possess it or to present exemplary performance and care towards others. It's a character trait with an opportunity. The character traits I look for are integrity, honesty, what I call the 3 C's, which are caring, commitment, and consistency. Caring, if you're in this room and you serve others and you're able to do it without caring, you're probably in the wrong business. We have to have a care and a love for those that we serve. Commitment, where there's probably dozens of setbacks, some of them that would discourage us along the way, but a commitment leads us to a place to where we realize that what we're trying to accomplish is bigger than ourselves, so we push on through the discouragement. And then consistency. Consistency, quite simply, is don't give up. Don't let anybody deter you. Don't let any situation deter you. Don't give up. Remember why you're doing what you're doing. As far as that work we do, Shiloh Baptist is 163 years old this year. I have the privilege of pastoring the church that I grew up in. I was carried there at 2 years old. Very strong, very dynamic church in the region of Oak Park. Through our Cops and Clergy program, which was developed through Bishop Carthen and then Deputy Chief Sam Summers sometime about 8 years back now. The idea was birthed, what would happen if the police department partnered with local pastors and contacted people that had negative contact with law enforcement. Sometimes even the very officer that arrested them shows up later in RCCC or downtown or even in their homes with a pastor that wants to walk through their process and help them, not with their case, but with some of the choices that they've made to get them to that spot. So that's some of the work we do in the Cops and Clergy. We'll talk about more later.
Thank you. Chief?
Thank you. So I'm going to speak a little bit about our department, I imagine, at times, but really as the law enforcement representative on the panel, you know, what I would say is, and this was evidenced in the slideshow certainly, there are a lot of ways to define heroes and heroic behaviors and actions. Certainly, courage can certainly be closely tied to that, and you know, your mind pictures maybe the classic rescuing someone from a burning building or a vehicle, something of that nature. And certainly, as I think Chaplain Mindy mentioned at the beginning of the program today, you know, we all do take an oath, and we take that seriously, and we're pledging in that oath to protect and serve, service being the key word there probably, you know, our various communities. And so as I look out, I see, you know, good friends of mine, other law enforcement leaders and practitioners, and I can really proudly sit here and say that we all have officers and staff members in our organizations who exhibit those behaviors every day. They maintain that pledge and that oath that they took. But I also like what we saw in the slideshow, which was a slightly different focus on heroic behaviors, and that's the real dedication to service in our communities and making sure that we're you know, properly serving all communities you know, within our cities and our jurisdictions, and that really for me, that really moves the needle, you know, in terms of societal evolution, because, you know, as we work together and we commit to serve one another and better understand each other, I think that's how we evolve as a society. So that was a great story, by the way. I want to commend again the SAC PD officers that received the Service Above Self Award earlier. That was a great start and really a phenomenal story. And I think we all, as law enforcement organizations, as public safety organizations, we all have stories like that, and we have staff like that we see go out every day and do really generous acts of service like that.
All right, thanks, Chief. All right, next question. I'll start with Rachel. Tell us about any challenges that your organization has faced and how you've seen heroes rise within your organization. If you can give us an example, that'd be great.
Sure. So any nonprofit goes through challenges, obviously, ensuring that throughout the years that you're able to provide consistent services for the community. I would say, in the last couple of years, the biggest challenge that we've faced is the rhetoric that happens in our communities, anti-immigration rhetoric. Because what that's done is it's cast people who are already in the shadows further into the shadows. And so what's happened is you have services that are available that sometimes people don't want to take advantage of because they're afraid to come forward. And so how you address that, how you reach out to the community and build that trust has been an important part of the work that we do, is to be able to build the trust with the community, to be able to build the trust with the community and our law enforcement community by having law enforcement officers, having our community officer come out and be a part of our services when we do things like we started 3-on-3 with SAC PD, which is a basketball game that the officers will play with our young people in the summer, having opportunities where the community can see folks in that in a humane way as people, as individuals, and not be afraid to come to have services. So I think that those have been some of the challenges that we've faced, and those are some of the ways that we've overcome it. I talk about the importance of working together with other community organizations and with our partners, because we can't do anything together. And so really it's about looking at those challenges as they come forward and seeing who can we bring to the table to help us address those and resolve those challenges. So.
Excellent. All right, Pastor Sadler.
In the lane that we work in, the main challenge is centered around systemic or historical mistrust between law enforcement and the communities, especially underserved communities. But even in the midst of these challenges, heroes arise. We find that if we can create a space to where people can actually talk and humanize both the law enforcement to community and community to law enforcement, that we'll find that we have more things in common than we have differences. And that's the beginning. That's the beginning of something, because I believe that it's only through relationship building that the mistrust can diminish and that trust can be established. One of the heroes that exemplified that over the course of our cops and clergy time would be a young man. I won't name him because you guys will harass him, but he was a sergeant when we started. He was an officer. He was over one of the GET teams, and he really wasn't into this new cops and clergy program. He kind of viewed it as a hug-a-thug program, and he really wasn't feeling it at all. But it was a chief emphasis, and he wanted to keep his job, so he engaged. And as we went on, what we found out, though, was the usual protocol would the officer would introduce the pastor that was with him. They would sit back, and then the pastor would just do what pastors do with the person that we were engaging with. Well, we found that over time, this same officer that did not feel this program at all was starting to engage and do some problem solving with the people, even to a point to where he moved to a mentor program, actually was taking kids, starting with his own son, who was having some challenges at the time, and sending him off to a program off-site, kind of one of those boot camp kind of programs that would help kids prioritize their lives out of the area which they were having struggles with. So that's probably one of the heroic stories, was we changed this hardcore cop who was reluctant to community outreach to one that became a champion of community outreach, and now I'm happy to say he's a lieutenant now. Hey.
Good story. Chief?
So it's interesting that the first two panel members talked about trust and public trust in particular. And any of us in law enforcement, I think all of us in the room, understand the importance of public trust. It's really the foundation. It's the baseline upon which we get work done in the community. And so as I thought about this, we've had a couple of instances in the past in Elk Grove in which the public trust was compromised somewhat. And those incidences occurred a couple of years ago, and they involved a couple of police encounters involving residents with disabilities, and in particular, in both cases, they were individuals on the autism spectrum. And frankly, the encounters didn't go particularly well in terms of our interaction with those individuals. And what happened from those incidents has really propelled us into a relationship that I'm really proud of with our community with disabilities. We've really covered a lot of ground between those happening and where we are today. And what really led to a lot of that started with just frankly, a single individual within our organization. It's our Public Information Officer, Jason Jimenez, who many of you might know. Jason has a family member who is on the autism spectrum, and so he was particularly touched and influenced by these interactions. And so Jason came to me and said, look, I think we need to do some, we need to do some really in-depth training with our staff to do our level best to ensure that, you know, any encounters in the future with folks on the spectrum or with disabilities, that we can at least position ourselves for much better outcomes. So we did that training, but we didn't stop there. Jason also spearheaded an effort internally that we call FlyFit, and that's an affiliation that we have with a group called Fly Brave for Autism. And so what we do, and we're about to start our second year of that program, is that myself and a lot of our staff, we go out a couple of times a week and we actually do workouts with clients from various organizations. And these folks all have some level of disability, and it's just it's a bonding opportunity. It's a relationship building opportunity. So we've done that, which we're really proud of. And then about 6 months ago, we had our first open house at our department, but the open house was specific to families with developmentally disabled children, and that was amazing. I mean, it was heartwarming. It didn't just feel good, it did good. I mean, it really moved the needle in terms of our relationship with that community in particular. And so I've commended him, you know, publicly many times, but that effort was really led by our PIO, and he did a great job getting us to where we are today, and it's certainly something that I've become very personally proud of, and I'm proud of our organization and our city and our community for getting to where we are today.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to now call on Mervin, and it's got to include some story about a softball game.
That is
you know
not
what I
fair.
mean, Peepon over there.
Yeah, now I'm going to have to tell it because he'll definitely tell it. So I'm going to have to echo the panel about, I will tell the truth, Chief, about trust and relationship building. That's one of the things Brother to Brother is at the forefront of, building relationships with not only law enforcement, your office, but any organization that services the community. So my story begins about 2 years ago, before the softball game, Chief. So there was a shooting at Mama Mark's Park in Del Paso Heights, where originally it was thought to be gang related, but a young girl about 2 years old, and maybe a couple other people got shot. And I was actually on my way out to juvenile hall when I got the call, so I turned around and go to the park. When I get there, the community is outraged. It's really hot this day. The community is outraged. The scene is dynamic, it's chaotic. There's a couple of young black men that are in the cars, in the police cars, and then you have a couple of who I thought were rookie officers trying to maintain the perimeter and calm everybody down. So I walk up to where one of these officers were, and we had an interesting conversation, to say the least. I'm like, why do you have these young men in the car? It's hot. And he said, well, I'm trying to, they may have or may not have something to do with it. We're just trying to get control of the scene. And I'm like, well, it's too hot. Get them out of the car. Don't treat them like you wouldn't want your family treated. And we go back and forth. So over the course of it, this dialogue, I said, well, if you really, he says, well, I'm trying to be a part of the community. I'm trying to do my job, get to know people. And I said, well, if you really want to do that, why don't you come out and coach with me? Because I run the youth sports programs out there. I said, why don't you come out and help out? And then you would get to know the community. And he says, okay, I will. And we exchanged numbers. Of course, I didn't think that he would ever call. A couple of months later, I get a call. And I'm not going to be like Pastor who don't say the name. I'm going to say the name. It was Officer Lewis. He calls and said, hey, this is Officer Lewis. And I'm like, Officer Lewis? He said, yeah, the guy that was at the park. I said, wow. He said, hey, man, I'm in this area, and I want to get involved, and you said give you a call. So I said, okay, well, we're practicing on this night. Lo and behold, Officer Lewis shows up to football practice and started helping out with the youth on our Grant Youth Junior Pacer teams. He said, I'll be back. I said, okay. So the next time he comes back, he brings another officer, Sergeant Chandler, who was a lot more athletic than Officer Lewis. Come to find out.
Not forget about the softball game.
I'm not going to forget about the soft game. I just wanted to make that note that Officer Chandler actually came out and he was actually really able to help. Officer Lewis just happened to be there. But I'm saying that, so ever since then, they kept coming. They kept showing up. And then one time they brought like the whole SWAT team in the middle of practice. So you can imagine all these kids and families out in Grant Stadium practicing, and you see like 15, 20 officers coming into the stadium. Everybody's like, what's going on? They didn't know they were coming to help coach. But the beautiful thing about that is because they kept coming so much, they started tearing down walls. Little by little, the community got to know them. And we continued to deliberately build that bridge. Fast forward a year and a half later, after developing a good relationship with Captain Seaford and the rest of the group, we meet regular with our officers in the North area. A lot of the thugs in the community sit down with regular officers and have real talk conversations to get to know each other. A couple of years later, we were in one of those meetings and somebody brought up the idea of, well, we should have a softball game. And so we said, well, yeah, let's have a softball game. This is with brother to brother. Mind you, as the district attorney so graciously shared that I was one time incarcerated, brother to brother is made up of a group of formerly incarcerated and incarcerated guys, right? So it's not the most popular thing to do to be affiliated with law enforcement. But we had the game. And it was a good game. It really was a good game. The officers won. However, the officers that came out to play didn't look like any of the officers that worked the North area. I'ma just say that. Couple of ringers going on. But I'll end it with this, is that the officers that were there before the game and after the game, we embraced each other and ended with prayer. And it was so beautiful that some of those guys literally had just been arrested by some of those officers. So you can imagine what that was like. But by the end of that game, barriers were crossed and torn down, and there was an understanding that took place. So as it relates to hero, on both sides, because officers, like you said, don't always want to be seen as the hug-a-thug type, and the brothers in the community who I did not know didn't know how to play softball at that time. It was new to me. I was like, really? They had the courage to step up and say, hey, you know what? We're going to build these relationships, and I don't care who knows about it. So that day, that moment, and ever since then, those efforts to build that relationships and show the rest of the community that this is what a healthy community looks like, that day, they were all heroes to me.
Very good answer. Okay, we got 3 minutes left, so that gives you, I don't know, less than 30 seconds for the last one. I think we've done a pretty amazing job kind of showcasing what we want to talk about. But what would you say we can do to inspire other people to rise above these challenges that we face as a community and promote humanity? So, Pastor Sadler?
I think it, 1, 2. Merv talked so long he killed the mic. I think it really starts on getting serious about the problems that we are facing. This is a very sensitive subject for me, and I'm sure for many of you. I think all of our conversation needs to start with the sanctity of life, that all life is valued and all life is important. And we have to continue to find ways to reduce the loss of life through the senseless gunfire, whether it be loss of life on law enforcement side or the community side. That person means something to someone, and we need to try to, as a society, to reduce gun violence and really recognize that taking someone's life is not a lighthearted thing, and it's not something that should be taken lightly on whichever side of the equation you're on. Then I believe it goes on into, again, the relationship building, into humanizing both officers and community. Some of the things we've done with the cops and clergy have been adopt a class where we go into 3rd and 5th graders and we speak to them on an established curriculum of a series of topics such as what do you do when you find a gun, what is bullying, and things like that, to try to take those young minds before they've been tainted by the culture or the environment and keep them with a positive viewpoint towards law enforcement. Some of the more recent programs we've been able to do in this past year have been the Walk in My Shoes program, where we take a community member. We even took people that work in barbershops, and we have a cop, either a young cop that has just graduated from the academy or an FTO, and because we thought it was important that the FTOs see the same perspective, and so we partner them with this community member. They spend 4 hours or more with the community member in their environment. They can come out of uniform, relax in their environment, and really get a feel of what that community looks like and what are those things that are important to a community, the community in which they serve. And then the coin flips over, and that community member now goes on a ride along with an officer and sees from their perspective some of the challenges that law enforcement officers have to face just on calls to service, which in large part have been initiated through the very same community that is abusing them for being there. So those are some of the things through the Walk in My Shoes program. And then lastly, our Friday night peace walks in the Oak Park area. I'm really glad to be a part of that, along with the SAC PD, fire, nonprofits like the Urban League and City of Refuge. We go out every Friday from 5 to 6. We engage the community with one simple message, and that's a message of peace. We walk, we hand out pamphlets. On the back it has resources. We invite the community to come join us. We hit different segments of Oak Park each Friday night, unless it's raining. Then we call it for the rain, but other than that, we're out there on Friday night. We'll be out there tomorrow night, leaving from New Hope Baptist Church on 32nd and 12th Avenue. Anybody wants to come join us from 5 to 6, we'd love to have you on our peace walk. So we understand that what we do is not the answer all. It's just one slice of a pie, and these guys are heroes that I'm up here with because they work from a different perspective and sometimes on a different slice of the pie, as many of you do. But we all have to do something. We all have to engage our community. We all have a stake in making our community the best place to raise our families in.
Okay, we got to end it on that. Sorry. Killed the mic, buddy. But it's okay. Can we just thank our panel members for this incredible conversation? Thank you guys very much. Okay. We're going to go off script for a second here. This year, we decided that there was one person that really deserves a Hero and Humanity Award. And that's for somebody that I personally believe put that cape on a long time ago. So she's going to be really mad, but this is for Assistant Chief Deputy Natalia Luna. Where are you, Nat? Come on, you got to come out of the woodwork here. So before Before we award Natalia with this award, we're going to play a little video to try to explain to you why she is so deserving. She's mad right now. She bobs her head, you know she's mad.
Natalia really came from very humble beginnings. The fact that she put herself through law school, you know, overcoming a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges in our underserved community, the community that she was brought up in. The fact that she's just a real passionate individual. She cares about the community that she serves. And I could say that without hesitation that Natalia is just one that, to me, she's the ultimate hero in our community.
I remember the first day I saw you sitting up there at the table in our collaborative human trafficking meeting with Paul Dernberger, and I saw you and my thought was, that woman is fierce. I need to make my way to her, and I just knew there was something that was for me to learn from you. And I have to tell you, people who meet you, they know that you are serious about this work and you're committed to community. I think that it's an amazing thing that you are the daughter of the longtime fire chief of Oak Park, because in your own way, you have used your entire career to put out fires in community and to build bridges and to bring people together. And from walking those hallways with you, lobbying for SB 1322, to walking down Martin Luther King Boulevard and hearing your heart, your commitment and who you are will forever be remembered in this city. And I am so thankful and honored to have had the chance to work with you. And it's not over, sister. And if you think it is, don't hang out at your pool too long, because I'm going to come find you.
Look, in paying tribute to you, you know, you and I have been at this for a long, long time, and you have taught me a lot. And the one most impactful thing out of all that you do is your impact on the work that you do out here in the community. You know, as Dr. King said, we as a whole has yet not arrived, but you arrived a long time ago. Keep on doing what you're doing. So myself, always knocking in the community. Much love to you. Peace out.
Nat, I am so thrilled that Anne-Marie decided to give you this award, a hero in humanity. You embody what the word humane means. You're compassionate, you're understanding, but most importantly, you are generous. You're generous and give of yourself, whether the person is in the community, whether it's your coworkers or your friends. I am so honored to have worked for you, but I am truly blessed to have you as a friend. Congratulations, girl. This is really well deserved.
Congratulations, Natalie. I am so happy for you. This is well deserved. I've known you since the 80s. You were an investigative assistant. Then you went to law school. You became a DA. You were my community prosecutor at the Central Station. I was instrumental in you meeting your husband. I'm proud of you, and so is Sacramento. You've done a lot for our community, and this is very well deserved.
As a process server who was invaluable to me in reaching out to individuals in those neighborhoods and securing their cooperation and their trust, to her time as an outstanding gang prosecutor, Natalia always stood for the victims and the less fortunate, offering not a handout, but a hand up. And her emotions in that regard were very, very strong and not lost on the rest of us as prosecutors and law enforcement. In the glory days of the DA's gang unit, there was a Cal Bears football t-shirt thumbtacked to the office wall that contained the credo of the gang unit. And its words were, "It's all of us against all of them." Well, upon reflection, and in light of Natalia's good works, reaching out to others, and always being there for those less fortunate, a caveat has been attached to those words. And they now read, "It's all of us for all of them." Gracias, Ms. Luna.
I've known Natalie for more than 25 years of my career. She's always been excited, always engaged, and always enthusiastic when it comes to serving the community. She's opened doors, made connections between our office and the community, and helped us increase our overall service. I'm proud to say she's a hero for humanity and the community, and I'm very proud to call her my friend.
Okay. Okay, Natalia, you got to come up and for the, I don't know if she knows this yet, but I think her husband Jeff is here. You know, Assemblyman Cooper takes credit for that one. But come on up, Natalia. All right, I'm just going to, some of you may not know this, but she's retiring this year. I'm going to read to you. She's like so embarrassed right now. In recognition of your 34 years of passion, persistence, and dedication to enhancing public safety through prosecution prevention, community outreach, and innovative programs, you are the hero in humanity, Natalia. Congratulations. You got to say something now. Wanna take it?
Wow. Most of my staff know that I don't like to be in front of people like this because there's a video, and I don't photograph well. I told my staff before, Chris, where are you? I said, if you can't make me tall and skinny, then don't photograph me. And he said, I don't do miracles. We still love each other. He's still here. But really, this is truly an honor. I'm a crybaby, so I'll try not to. But it's really not me. It's everybody out there. I'm fortunate this theme is very, very special to me because you folks hold a special place in my heart. My husband, 25 years, law enforcement. So I know what you guys do firsthand. I know as a wife how we worry that someone's going to come knocking on our door because of the work that you do. My father, a battalion chief in the Oak Park area, and know first line, save lives, protect property, day in and day out. Community leaders who barely get paid, probably above the poverty line, but you do it because you care. You do it because you help people that can't help themselves and build that bridge. And our prosecutors this last year, sorry, I'll probably get in trouble for it, but don't care. You guys are awesome. Our prosecutors have gone through a whole lot this year. A fence that's supposed to signify diversion, diversity, and here we have our lawyers going across the courtroom every day, speaking for victims, speaking for witnesses and taking care of them, who may not look like them, but we're representing the entire county. It's nothing but a miracle. I mean, we really do great things. And so I accept this, but I accept this for everybody. So thank you.
All right. Just going to close this out. So I think it's quite clear that the individuals and the organizations and the stories that we've heard today are just some of the examples of selfless acts of heroism that we see every day, not only in times of crisis, but just every day. I think we should all be incredibly proud and hopefully inspired by today. I think we all know that our work has not just an effect on particular individuals, but it has a ripple effect on our community. And we all know that by working together, we can enhance the lives of everyone. As a takeaway, I think our U.S. attorney's all excited about this. You get a little swag bag, but in that swag bag, we've also this year added a little charging cable, compliments of the DA's office, to keep you powered as you do all your good work. I want to thank everybody again that helped us support us and sponsor us, but I don't want to leave that without saying that the folks from our office that worked so hard, and they all know who that is, led by Natalia, to put this together, deserve an incredible thank you. So I'm going to give you all a shout out, and that's a wrap. So we look forward to seeing you next year. Keep doing the good work you're doing, and Mervin, you got to practice your softball. That's it.